Hi muckers, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Okay, steadying on with the Gabbie Hanna revisit of her deleted series where she's exposing everyone. Okay, so the second episode is called Holding T Channels Accountable, and it is an entire episode about Bianca Devins. Now, I want to dive into that story first of all before I cover that one, if I'm just being completely transparent with you. I want to fully understand what is happening before I cover that one. I don't want to do like a blind react to that. Not about the T channels, but the story is a lot bigger than Gabbie Hanna or, you know, Angelica Oles, Dustin Daly I'm seeing in the thumbnail. Who else is that? I don't even know who that is. Who is, I don't know, whoever the drama channels are in the thumbnail. That story is much bigger than Gabbie Hanna doing an expose video. And I don't want you to think that I'm just moving past it because it's about T channels and drama channels, and that is what I am. This series has been deleted on YouTube, and I have to wonder if a reason for that, or maybe some thing in that episode not being online anymore, has to do with the family's wishes, who in the episode, Gabbie says that the family were encouraging her making it, but obviously it's not online right now, and I don't necessarily feel comfortable putting it on my YouTube channel when the original upload is not there. So for the meantime, I'm going to be moving on to episode 3 instead of episode 2. There's so many more episodes. Maybe I don't necessarily feel comfortable covering that one just because of very obvious reasons. So we are going to be moving on to episode 3, which is called To All the People I've Hurt, Past Problematic Content. All right, let's get to it. Oh, wait, what is the author's note? Because apparently she's doing them every fucking episode. This is a long overdue message that I've never had the courage or integrity to post. I know it's not perfect, but I'll continue to learn and hopefully teach as long as I'm alive. Please feel free to have an open, kind dialogue in the comments. Hate will not be tolerated. All right, let's get to it. Can my email stop?
Another day without sheets. Weird. I actually don't normally do that. Anyways, so in my last vlog, I talked about at the end of it, there was a lot of stuff that I wanted to take ownership for, but I didn't want to tack it at the end of that one. I've actually filmed this video, or at least a version of it, a few times, and I never put it out because I was overthinking it so much and I felt so strongly about it, but I was trying to deliver it in such a perfect way. It just never felt right or fully, it was never quite there. The other day I was doing a Q&A and one of the questions was, what is your biggest regret? What's your biggest regret in life? See, questions like that are actually so hard because my biggest regrets ultimately did lead me here, and that's so corny to say. Oh no, I have regrets. Yeah, totally. I regret some content that I made, for sure, of course, because that stuff didn't need to exist for me to exist. And I realized, oh my god, for real already, the battery? The Grammys are today, and I was seeing some tweets and I saw that Blue Ivy, I think, won a Grammy for Brown Skin Girl. I never watched the music video, so I went and I watched it. I was like, god, this is
Love that music video.
beautiful. And then I was like, oh, holy shit. How crazy is it that Beyonce and all of these women and artists had to write a song talking about accepting their brown skin? And why is that making me feel so good inside? Imagine white people writing a song being like, white-skinned girl. Like, it's like, no, dude, like, I don't need an anthem for myself. And I think that's why I felt so compelled right now.
I also think on a deeper level, the Lion King album that Beyonce had made in that time period, I think is her best body of work, honestly. I do think it's one of her best bodies of work. There are so many beautiful songs on that, and Brown Skin Girls is a great example of how incredible and incredibly written and incredibly produced, and the message behind it of that album. And I love the featuring of Blue Ivy in it. I think it really is, it's so beautiful. And the generations as well of black women, and the song is so empowering. Don't necessarily love Gabbie Hanna being like, you know, we don't need a song called, you know, white skin girls. I don't necessarily appreciate the way she's talking about it here. I think Brown Skin Girls is such a beautiful song. For some reason, my camera just stopped recording, so I put it back a little bit because I talked for like another couple minutes. My friend, whenever the Lion King album came out with Beyonce, would do kind of like this like Sunday school. Well, she would volunteer at it, like this Sunday school, but it like wasn't a religious thing. It was kind of more just, it's a Sunday school like format where when parents would work on a Sunday, like the kids would go. And I used to help a couple weeks, and oh my God, it was during the time period whenever the Lion King album came out, and just how some of these little girls were just singing that song. We used to put it on for them all the time because they would request it. Oh my, they just love, it's such an empowering, such a beautiful, and also so many songs on the album are just so great. I love Beyonce so fucking much. Do we have to go back to talking about Gabbie Hanna? Can we not talk about Beyonce? Love that album so much. So beautiful. Anyway, back to Gabbie Hanna.
Girl, like, it's like, no, dude, like, I don't need an anthem for myself. And I think that's why I felt so compelled right now. So, here we are, and I didn't really prepare because I find that in the past when I try to do that, I overthink it. At this point, I would rather take out the element of my own selfishness and ego and just speak from the heart. And hopefully, as you watch it, if I do say something wrong or misstep, feel free to correct me. But this feels like the only way that I can get this out and truly say what I'm trying to say. So I want to talk about the inappropriate content that I've put out, the racially charged content that I've put out, and pretty much any of my contributions to detrimental cultures. And I think that the most obvious place to start with this is where I think that most people probably started having a problem and trying to point out this to me, which was my baby daddy's Vine, which I will play it right now, even though it is so fucking, it's embarrassing and it's uncomfortable.
I love running through black neighborhoods with my shirt off. I'm gonna steal all of your baby daddies.
I can't say that it was okay at the time because I remember there being a lot of comments of people being like, this is racist. And in my head, I said, no, it's not, because I love black people and I've grown up with black people and I'm friends with these black people and all my black friends are co-signing it. And it was a parody of my friend Eric's Vine, and I did what I thought was the inverse.
Again, never the right thing to say or justify in that when you're called out for racist actions, words, behavior. I know black people. I have black friends. No. That does not write you off. That does not write you off. That is not like, okay then, damn, I didn't know. Oh, okay. All right. No problem. No.
White version of it.
I like running through white people neighborhoods with my shirt off.
I'm gonna steal all your stuff.
But what I didn't understand is that what Eric was saying and what his...
Okay, I'm pretty sure she's going to say what I'm just about to say here. There's two very big differences in those two TikToks. Number one, Gabbie Hanna's one is literally stemming from racist stereotypes, right? That she is making about black people as a white woman. The TikTok she just showed where she was like, well, this is the reason I made my TikTok. That is a black person making a TikTok about black stereotypes, like poking fun at it, making fun of it. Those are stereotypes that people make about black people. So you have a black person making a TikTok making fun of that. I think she's probably going to say the exact same thing I said here, but I think even me just seeing them right off the bat here, there's two very big differences.
Commentary was white people look at black people as thieves. And that was his joke that he made as a black person, saying like, haha, look, I'm shirtless. I must be about to steal all your shit. And then I did one saying, I'm going to steal all your baby daddies, which is racist for a lot of reasons. It's basically saying that I, as a white woman, can swoop in and steal all of the black men. It's also kind of a commentary on the statistics of black men leaving families and single-parent households, which is a real issue, and it is not my place to make a joke about it.
I was about to say, but that's not... No. You know what I mean? That's not content. That's not humor. That's not for you. I'm glad she's acknowledging that at least.
I finally came to that realization. It was just like, I didn't know how to address it, and I also had a lot of defenses and ego up. So, yeah, that sucked, and I'm really sorry for that, and for perpetuating that stereotype and that narrative, and for ignoring the voices that were trying to tell me that I was wrong, because so many people were telling.
You know, this is not an apology for me, very clearly. One thing I do appreciate in this, again, this is not me, again, I'm not saying this as an accepting thing or anything. I'm saying that Gabbie has done something here that many YouTubers don't do when they have to apologize for racist behavior, because apparently so many of them fucking are. Where she made her content the same time period other YouTubers made racist content. And Gabbie has literally said something that the majority of them don't say. What do all of the YouTubers love to say when they get called out for problematic, mainly racist content? It was a different time. Humor was different. So I think if anything, I appreciate her just being fucking honest and saying, no, I did get backlash for this in the moment. It wasn't a different time period. I did get backlash because so many people will kind of love to hone in on that. It was a different time period. No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
Telling me I was right.
If you built a community off of that being normalized, then that's on you. It was not the internet as a whole.
And I think that's why it's so important to actually talk about this, because the reason that I was perpetuating that humor, and please don't take this as me trying to justify, but it's important that that was the humor that I was raised on. That was what was funny in media. That's what was popular on Vine. And as somebody trying to be...
Okay, she's literally just went back on the point that I literally just gave her a little bit of praise for, so just scrap everything I just said.
Popular on Vine, I did that. And in doing that, the people below me, who were, I say below me and like looking up to me as a figure of a career they wanted to emulate, they saw me making that type of jokes, and then they perpetuated that jokes. Or at school or in another setting that wasn't a content creation setting, it also... You know, I don't know how you were talking to your friends or treating your friends in those situations, because I was showing that this was funny and this was okay. That by far was not my only racially charged joke. Like I had one, basically the punchline was just having a black person pull a gun on me.
And then I said, do it yourself, I'm not your slave. Bitch, whip her ass.
And again, at the time, people were like, this is racist. And I'm like, I'm in a room full of black people. Obviously, I'm not racist. This is okay. I'm being co-signed by other creators. I also want to take the moment here to say that by no means am I like putting blame on black creators, because another thing that has come to light for me, at least, it's always been there, but it took a while for me to find it, is that black creators, actors, comedians, oftentimes forced into playing that role of the stereotypical black person, the token black person, to get the laugh. And if they want to work and they want to succeed and they want to collaborate with the big white creators who are getting to the top, they have to do those things. And I unfortunately put a lot of my friends in those situations, and I don't want anybody else to do that because they saw me do it and think it was okay. I'm still trying to learn and educate myself on a lot of that and try to educate others when I can. And I'm sorry that it took so long. I was really just like waiting for the perfect way to say it. I was waiting for a moment where I wasn't fucking in some type of drama that, like, I never wanted it to look like, oh, she's just doing this now because she wants people to like her. She's jumping on a trend or trying to get a community behind her or seem like a good person, because it felt like every time I spoke up, that was what it was. And because I was being selfish and because I was more concerned with myself and my perception and how I wanted people to feel about me, it held me back from doing the right thing. And that is also on me. So I need to apologize for that aspect of it, of just like trying to brush it under the rug and hope it'll go away and hope people will forget. I want to shout out Quinta Brunson, who, when I was working at BuzzFeed, we would...
Oh my god! I fucking love her! It's crazy that she like was on BuzzFeed.
After our shifts and
everything.
We would just like shoot vines.
God, it's crazy that she used to work with Gabbie Hanna. Fuck me. It's crazy how one of their careers went, isn't it? Whoop. Whoop. Sorry.
And I remember one time I asked Quinta to be a part of a Vine, and I don't remember what the Vine was. I don't think it ever got made, but I asked her to be a part of it, and then she said, is the part like specifically black? Like, are you asking me because I'm black? So I was like, oh, here's what it is. And she was like, no. And I didn't ask her why. I was afraid that it would feel like defensive or like I was trying to talk her into doing it or pressuring her. But if I had been a better person at the time, I would have thought of the way to ask her, because I did actually wonder, like, I wonder why Quinta said no. Like, all of my other Black friends always say yes, but like, I didn't ask her, like, hey, do you mind telling me what?
Literally what she's describing here is literally just like, how do I describe this? Like, the way she's saying there, like, oh, why did she not say yes to that? What, did you move on to another one of your Black friends and ask them because you're saying that you wanted that role? That's so fucking weird. So weird.
What it was that made you not want to do this content. And if I would have asked her that back in 2015, then
you would have known not to create that content.
Grown a lot faster. That's why it is a regret, because I was making this content and I did not have to. And that obviously, this encompasses, without saying, like, anything that I've ever tweeted in the past. Like, you know, like, I've had a lot of dumbass fucking tweets. And it's embarrassing. Which actually leads me to, I feel like I made a lot more jokes than I'm aware of in relation to kids. And when I see them now, I'm like, oh, ew. At the time, they truly did not feel like that to me. And that was something that I was perpetuating again and again. This is not an excuse, but because that was the humor that I saw other people doing, and that was popular, and like famous comedians would do, and they did well on YouTube, and there was like whole memes, the bear meme, like that was all centered around this humor, like jokes in South Park, jokes in Family Guy, Daniel Tosh, like YouTubers that were doing really well at the time, or the circles that I was running in, and I contributed to it. Sorry, I want to make sure that I make that very clear. The reason it's so important too is because, like, okay, I just saw a tweet today actually that was like, be careful what you say to yourself, even as a joke. Like, don't make self-deprecating jokes, because your brain, when it's saying those words, doesn't know the difference between like a joke and real. So if I'm sitting here being like, oh, I'm such a fucking like a fat loser and I'm so lame and so annoying, like I say those things to myself and I believe them. So in making jokes and then other people thinking that they're okay, even though somebody watching that joke might not think like, oh, it's okay to like talk about this and treat underage kids like this, it plants a seed in their head that like, oh, maybe it is.
It's just this sense of what so many YouTubers, creators did in the 2010s, which is normalize really things that shouldn't have been normalized or even made jokes about. Like joking about kids. When that was happening so often, you don't know how that can, like, oh, then it's normal to joke about that. It's normal to talk about kids like that. It's normal to tweet this racist thing. It's normal to say the M word when you're a white creator. It's not right. It's not right.
Is okay. Even if it's not conscious, they might look at underage kids in a way now that is not appropriate, or have conversations with underage people now that is not appropriate. So I want to say thank you to everybody who tried to hold me accountable to it, and apologize to them for the frustration that they felt seeing somebody be able to make it to where I made it at one point with virtually no repercussion for that. I also want to say thank you to the people who were understanding and forgiving, but I also want to ask you to stop defending me in those scenarios. I see people commenting like this was a joke, humor was different back then, she shouldn't have to apologize for this, or she's changed.
Which ironically is the thing that she just said in defending herself, but
since then, and I should be held accountable to that. So fuck, I feel like there's more to say here. Let's just keep the conversation going, like kind of always. Let's keep the conversation going until we don't put entire groups of people in a box where they feel like they have to fucking literally write anthems that their skin color is acceptable in society. Like, holy shit, dude. And there's so much more that I hope to get into in the future about the way that people of color are treated sexually and the different dangers that they face. I have never had to suffer with that type of situation. This is something that's so important too. White privilege is very, very real. And I say that as a white passing Middle Eastern person who came from absolute poverty and nothing. And I spent the first 25 years or so of my life completely rejecting the idea of white privilege because I said, fuck that. I have hustled my ass off. I came from nothing. I had no advantages to me. I had to claw my way out of the fucking trenches to be where I am. I do not have privilege. And then finally, it clicked with me because I read the right article. The stuff that made it click with me, that is what I pass on to people now. Do you get followed when you walk into the grocery store or any store? Has anybody ever told you that you are well spoken for just delivering your points?
I think one thing that always really bothers me, and this goes for creators and this goes for just so many people I've unfortunately had the displeasure of having to talk to, so many people get uncomfortable when you bring up the conversation of white privilege, which is so bizarre because it's such an apparently real, it's such an apparent real thing. So to get uncomfortable about it as a white person is so fucking crazy to me. And to not acknowledge it or try to muddle the waters when we're talking about it and but my feelings not like this as a white person, it's it just really, it's so crazy to me how people are so ignorant and how many people don't want to educate themselves and will instead just shut down a conversation. I've literally had conversations with white people when it has came up about white privilege, and literally it will always stand out in my mind that someone I was talking to was talking about how, well, white people are oppressed too. And I'm like, we're currently talking about white privilege when it comes to racism. And your first thought is to make this about yourself as a white person and say how oppressed you are? That is not even the conversation we're having.
Anybody ever acted shocked that you're intelligent? Have you ever been the only person of your race in a room or often? Do you feel like you needed to change your culture in order to assimilate to the world that we're living in? Do you feel like you needed to change your entire appearance or your hair to fit in with people like me? Dude, the shit that I've gotten away with, I got caught shoplifting in a foreign country and I got away with it. I was pulled over without a license, without registration, and I got away with it. That's crazy. Do you think, okay, dead ass, I'm asking you, do you think I would have gotten away with that if I was black? Or really any other race but white? If I wasn't a blonde white girl driving my Corolla, do you think that they would have been like, yeah, you're good? No, that is white privilege. I saw a quote. It was the difference between privilege and white privilege. White privilege isn't saying that your life wasn't hard. It was saying that the color of your skin did not make it harder. I don't understand when racism became a political debate. Whenever I saw it becoming a part of the election, I'm like, how is this becoming a part of the election? This is just about literally equal rights and providing the same opportunities to all communities. And there's just so much information that's out there and people don't realize how recently Jim Crow was. People don't understand that the first people to be in non-segregated schools are still alive. Our grandparents had separate water fountains. Our grandparents couldn't swim in the same swimming pools as us. They had fucking chemicals thrown into the swimming pool. This was not that long ago. And those grandparents raised our parents, raised us, and you know what I mean? It comes down, it's passed down. Even genetically, there's so much science to it that we are creatures of evolution and adaptation. So if your great-great-great-grandfather was a slave owner, both him and the slaves have parts of their DNA that react differently. There is such a thing as generational trauma. It's science. It's not pseudoscience. It's real, dude. Your DNA changes when you are abused and experience trauma, and it also changes when you are an abuser and inflict trauma. And it's really important to undo those things because a lot of the prejudices and racism in our brains it just needs to be undone. If you actually want an equal and free and fair world.
But also, everything she's saying here is things that people who will always make a racial debate about themselves never take the time to look into. And they're the most irritating people to have to talk to, because it's like, you can't even do the bare minimum of educating yourself. Like, why am I having this debate with you if you can't even take the time to do that? Fuck you.
Then black women shouldn't have to write songs celebrating their skin. It should just be a fucking given that it is beautiful and normal. So like, it's so hard to like, it's just hard to wrap your head around. I am talking to myself as well. I'm not just trying to preach to you as a perfect person. I'm preaching to you as a person who was raised in a very bigoted way. Thank you for listening, and I'm looking forward to continuing this conversation, and yeah.
Okay, so I think she was starting off really strong when she was like addressing it and saying that, you know, this boiling down to it was a different time on the internet isn't true because people were calling her out in the moment. Then she kind of went back on it. I think this video and the way she's kind of addressing how she educated herself and how she knows a lot more history now can kind of just be a message to anyone who has done really ignorant things across the board in their life, that if you start to educate yourself and you start to fucking care, then that's better than doing nothing. And I don't know why that can't get into people's fucking brains. Oi. All right, well, let's talk about this one down below. I will see you in my next one, and goodbye.